Hey, what's up, guys? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Rex. We're talking about random shit. Hope you're all doing well. So today I got another special guest for you all, folks. This is part of the Chasing Excellence series. And so pretty much what I do with the Chasing Excellence series is I find people who do really dope things. And then I kind of talk to them, try to get a little bit of their mindset and see how it is that they're able to do really cool things. Today I got a really good buddy of mine. His name is Joey.
Yo, what's up?
Yeah, so what Joey is a very, very high level Muay Thai fighter, one of the top guys in the Florida region. My man is crushing it right now. And I just want to dig a little bit into his psyche, see what makes him tick, see how see the journey he's on, and kind of see what the future is for him. So,
Hi, so my name is Joey. I started Muay Thai probably about like 10 years ago when I was in high school. It was really my transition away from team sports like soccer, football. I was really kind of getting tired of the monotony of doing that. Wanted something a little new. Obviously, defending yourself is something that I feel like a lot of kids strive for when they're in high school or younger. Get me out of a lot of trouble, and from the get-go, it's kind of really addicted. From day one, I was always learning something new, and I found out really quickly that I liked fighting, competitively. And since then, I garnered another liking for like, sharing my skills to the community and newer people and showing them what Muay Thai has done for me, and seeing how they grow on their journey has kind of done more for me, even more so than my own competitiveness in my own competitions, seeing people grow in their own martial art.
awesome. So what was it about like regular sports that like turned you off and made you head towards like martial arts?
I think the very blatant one was being a midfielder in soccer and setting up good plays. And it's nothing against like your own teammates, but seeing like the play fizzle out, and it's something that because there's no little communication or bad communication, or someone was out of position, and it's things that are kind of like out of your control. And even in like a fight team, you still have teammates that help you get to the fight, but like at the end of the day, it's your own self. If you make a mistake, it's on you. So I really like that aspect of competing in martial arts.
Taking accountability for your own actions.
Exactly. It's like, at that day, you can't really get mad at anyone else but yourself, and it gives you the ability to grow, a lot easier in my opinion.
Of all the possible like single man sports that you could possibly do, like why fighting? Why did you pick that out of everything? Or was it like a process of trying a lot of things and fighting just happened to be the thing you like the most?
Well, separate from like watching sport, like team sports like football growing up, watching soccer growing up, I would stay up night and like watch HBO boxing, after I was like put to bed, turn the TV on, put it on mute, and I would catch old boxing matches on TV, and I'm like, oh, cool. Professional wrestling back in the day, and then eventually found MMA, UFC, and I'm like, hey, let me try this out. My mom's personal trainer had a little sticker on the door and said self-defense MMA. So I'm like, hey, let's try this out. And then eventually one of the coaches that came on in had the cool little tie shorts on, and he's like, hey, I'm gonna show you guys what Muay Thai's about. Show me the kick, and I became natural at it. I'm like, all right, let's do this. On the same time, I was just being shown like wrestling and jiu-jitsu and MMA, but out of all of them, kind of like Muay Thai is what I stuck to the most. And here we are.
So you have done aspects of MMA then?
Yeah.
Okay. What was it for you?
It's fun. It's just I was getting ready for an MMA fight back in like 2015, and then having like cut all the weight, driving down from Jacksonville to West Palm Beach, and then the guy dropped out the day of the weigh-ins. And it kind of like really just irritated me a bit, and I hate blood work. Not a fan of needles, like that. So when I realized Muay Thai, amateur Muay Thai, you don't have to get blood work done. I'm like, all right, let's get this going. I can compete real quickly like that, and then yeah.
Life of a fighter. Tell me about that.
It's fun. You work out a lot, so you get to eat a lot of food. You don't really have a lot of free time, from what I've figured out. It's kind of a good thing. Keeps you out of trouble, because most of your evening time should be spent sleeping, because you're so tired. You just want to fall asleep. The second you lay down, you pass out. So it's like a lot of it is just being in the gym, being really disciplined. And kind of what you're basically doing is you eat, sleep, train. That kind of cliche phrase is true. And then if you keep on it, you'll be a decent fighter. It's not really that difficult of a thing to accomplish. Just stick with what you have to do, your training, eat well, recover well, and it's a pretty fun sport.
Gotcha.
You don't get, in my experience, you don't get injured as much if you take care of yourself. That's the key thing that I figured out recently.
What happened?
Shin bruise here, bruised like knee, pulled a few tendons, or strained a few tendons, sorry, pulled my calf. So it's like a few things, realizing what you should be doing to like rest on the right days, taking care of your body and not going 100% every single time.
So is there like any aspects of like martial arts, Muay Thai that like kind of like translates to like other parts of your life?
Oh, for sure. I think it definitely increases the patience in an individual.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people in Florida have short tempers, as we know, when they're driving. Some of the infamous drivers in the country. So having this little bit of subtle patience in me helps out in that aspect of life. And then just, I feel like creating a routine. It gives you a structure throughout your day that you have to be like, all right, I got to get this done. And if I don't, then I have no clean clothes for training. So it's like, you're like, oh, I got to do my laundry now. And if you don't, you kind of like are a few steps back in your day. So it really keeps you on track,
Mm-hmm.
And it also obviously keeps you in good shape as well. So you just feel better throughout the day.
So what's like the training like in order to be like a top level fighter?
Top level. It
Or-
definitely takes more than
Or at least your training.
what I'm doing at this moment. You're training twice a day. You're hitting pads for like 6-8 rounds maybe. You're sparring 2 to 3 times a week. Not heavy. Technical sparring, drilling, getting the techniques that you like down, building the strategy for your opponent that you got lined up. It's really focusing on those aspects throughout your camp. And then the conditioning is really important. If you're not running, you're not jumping rope, you're not fighting. It's kind of like the phrase. One of my good coaches, Marcus, had a good saying. It's like, you sign up for fighting, you sign up for cross country. It's pretty much what they say. It's like, if you're not doing the conditioning, you're not ready to fight. And it shows, and you see guys who are not doing their sprints. When they get in there, they're heaving, dry heaving, exhausted after 1 minute. They get back to the corner, they can't breathe. You can really tell in someone's fight when they didn't do the conditioning.
So like the guys who like come into this sport and like you've been doing this for how many years?
Training about 10.
10 years?
Eating regularly only the last 2-3 years.
Okay.
So.
And in those like 10 years, I'm sure you've seen a lot of guys just come and go.
Oh yeah, you see the who's who come in, want to train. You see the guys that want to just take a fight, like they see it on the TV, and their aspirations are just to get in the cage and think they're fighters, right? It's like you see the people that just want to work out. You see individuals that are a little shy, a little socially anxious, right? And they need the confidence boost, and they figured, or they wanted to try martial arts to kind of find that in them, right? And you see that change in their journey, where they slowly start becoming more and more confident. They start talking to more and more people. And before that, they were, a quiet little shell in the corner, kind of like myself. I didn't really talk much. I was kind of the kid in the back, kind of like listened, did their work. Wasn't like willing to raise their hand because I just didn't like want to be in the center of attention, right? Muay Thai has kind of helped me break out of that. I'm being forced to not forced, but I want to teach, so I've been having to break out of my shell, learn to project my voice, learn to confidently talk to other individuals that are older than me that I think is a little, intense sometimes because they're looking at me as a coach, but they're 10 years older than me. It's freaking weird, it's like something you got to get used to. So that's definitely its own little battle, and it's helped me out.
Gotcha. So tell me a little bit more about teaching then, because that's definitely an interesting part that a lot of people don't see when they look at a fighter. When they look at a fighter, they don't think, oh, that's a teacher, but...
Oh, yeah. It's kind of like your give back to the community, you put in all this work. It's something this is my variation of this art, it's this is what I like about it. This is what works for me. Or this is the standard combinations under my lineage. You're showing them what your coach showed you, and it's what your coach's coach showed them. You're part of the tree, and that's kind of the more important aspect of it. It's not necessarily the being the coach of X, Y, and Z world champions, pocketing this much of a it's nothing like that. You're not necessarily a manager on top of it, but when you're training, when you're teaching a class, it's kind of like your sacrifice to the art. You're saying, hey, this is me giving back to my community without really asking for anything in return. Saying, hey, you guys are going to do better with these set of skills. Go do your own thing, see what it does for you.
Mm-hmm. Does it help you in the ring when you're teaching other people?
I would say 100%. So lets you see things when you're holding pads for other people. When you're doing like private one-on-ones, it definitely gives you the ability to see certain strikes better. Helps you with your own technique. If you feel like you're a little wonky on something, you might want to like go over it again for the class, so you get better at it yourself. So it's like a trade-off. Some people in the class might be thinking, oh, you're learning something new, but I might be reteaching myself something as well. So it gets a little bit of like, I can be a little selfish with teaching at the same time, but the people in the class might not know that. If it's like, I want to work on my teep, so I'll show a combination with the teep, rear elite teep, right? But it might be because I want to do it, but I'm showing them something new. So that's what I think is a great thing about teaching.
That's pretty dope, man. So what would you say you get more out of, actually fighting in the ring yourself, or actually or teaching other people? I think that was English.
I'd say I get more out of it. I've gotten more out of it from training and teaching. The fighting is just to show people cool shit.
Oh, wow.
I like fighting, and it's fun to be competitive. It gets that little competitive urge out. So, and I don't mind getting hit. I found out, so I guess that's another benefit. People get gun shy when they get hit in their first fight. So, going over that leap and going over that little hump was nice.
So you've got a fight coming up in about a month, right?
Yeah.
So what are you doing to prepare for that fight?
A lot of rounds of sparring, a lot of ab workouts, a lot of conditioning, a lot of running, a lot of jump rope. More so like aero bike or assault bike, less jump rope less running, because the streets are bad for your ankles and your knee joints, and I've been having a lot of injuries in that region, so I've been kind of like assisting that by doing more bike and more jump rope in it. So it's really just getting the rounds in. More of a strategy against a kicker and a righty. So I'm a southpaw, so I've been like working on that more.
Okay.
That's all I got for that.
So like when you're so when you're actually in the ring and you're going rounds with the other person, like what is that like? Because most people, they've never been in a ring. They've been, they've been in like bar fights or whatever, and they think they can hang, but
no, I mean, it's stressful. It's I would say it's the most, minus obviously, I think the obvious other examples would be individuals that go off to war, getting like gunfights on the street. When you involve like excess violence like that, you're definitely in a higher stress scenario, right? Police officers, firefighters. When you're fighting, it's pretty much, it's up there as far as like high stress. You're in a situation where you're mentally think like this individual is gonna do some level of harm to me, so your senses are a little heightened. And for some people, if they're not trained properly, they, you typically freak out, flinch. You go into flight mode, right? You want to like run away. You want to escape the threat. And you're training yourself to run away from, trick yourself out of that mode and to go towards the threat, which is a weird concept to some individuals, and you become good at that. And like I said before, I didn't realize that I didn't mind getting hit. It really benefits being in the fray inside a fight. You're able to like think a little more. Some people try to say when you first get into your fight, you're not supposed to think, but I disagree a little bit. You want to be conscious. You want to set up and trick your opponent. You want to use your feints. You're playing chess. So it's like you're playing chess. I'm not thinking of my move I'm making right now. I'm thinking of the move I want to make 3 steps from now with this pawn or with this knight. So you're doing the same thing when you're fighting. I'm using my jab or my teep to set up maybe 3 strikes down the line, or maybe I'm trying to move you to one corner of the ring. Those are conscious movements. I'm not going into like this ultimate flow state and just shoo 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 and like I don't think it's like that. Unless some people might feel better in that situation, but I like to be able to also like still think while I'm fighting. So it's like if you're still thinking, you give yourself the space to make those decisions. I feel like it's better for you're able to take less damage, which you want to avoid damage fighting actually. But yeah.
Okay. So like So like there's a huge controversy from like usually amongst like soccer moms or whatever. They're saying like I don't want my kids to sign up for these things because it's gonna give them brain damage or whatever. I don't want my kids to get punched in the face, even though their kids like, hey, I want to jump in. I want to be a boxer. I want to be a fighter or whatever. Like what would you say to people who have like that concern?
If you're stopping your kid from doing what they want to do. Like, I mean, I was raised differently, so I have a really anxious mom. So don't get me wrong, she doesn't like that I fight, but hey, she's not gonna stop me from doing it, you know. And she's not gonna take it out of my life. I think that would be a horrible parental decision if they want to take something out of your life that obviously makes you happy. Like if they see that it makes you happy.
And
You
it's
know?
positive.
And it's positive. Like you don't always sign up to fight when you do martial arts. You know, it's like I just chose this route. Some people don't choose that route. You know, like. But at the end of the day, it's up to the individual. As much as any decision a parent wants to put forth their opinion or you know, kind of baby their kid along, at the end of the day, they're gonna make their own decisions. So if they want to box, man, they're gonna box. And whether it's at a gym or in the locker room at the school, you know, it's like they're gonna box.
It's almost like I would rather them not be in a locker room.
Exactly.
Rather than be in a controlled environment.
Which makes the more of the sense as opposed to just, you know, being like, oh, you can't do that, it's gonna hurt you later on in life. It's like, no, it's gonna do a lot better for their mental health and their ability to control themselves than it is harm, you know?
Yeah. Gotcha. Oh, that makes perfect sense. So say like a 12-year-old Timmy is watching this video right now. He wants to get into martial arts, but he's also scared because he doesn't, you know, because he sees guys get KO'd in the UFC.
Well, martial arts training is not like the UFC. Those guys are training to fight. A lot of them are high-level athletes, wrestlers, competitive jiu-jitsu guys, world champion kickboxers. So they've been through the ringer, you know, like when you start martial arts, especially if you get into like most of the decent gyms, they're not going to be like, all right, bro, I'll get you your first fight in the cage and through 6 months. Like, no, their incentive is to show you the martial art, whether it's jiu-jitsu, whether it's even taekwondo, karate, or Muay Thai, or even get into a boxing gym. Like, their first point is to show you the martial art or the techniques that you need to learn to get better at the skill. And if they see that you're good, or if you have aspirations or a goal to compete, they're more than happy to help you. You know, but I would say find like those are the gyms you want to go for, and there's plenty of them. It's probably a small percentage that you'll find the gyms that are just trying to make money off of you and get you in the ring so you get hurt. You know, like you don't want to go to those gyms that are just trying to like throw you in with their fighters to prepare for their fights. Like you should like screw those guys. You know, they're not for the community. You should be looking at the individuals that are trying to grow the community by showing them martial arts first, and then being like, hey, if you want to compete, this is how we can prepare you to do so.
Awesome. All right, 2 more questions. So, all right. So, like, what do you think separates the people who like hop into this world and like they try to make it, but then they don't make it, versus the guys who just continuously hang around and like a decade from now they're like, they're still throwing hands with everyone?
It's situational on the individual, you know, like you see guys that get labeled journeymen, you see individuals that break through the mold and become world champions after 10 years, you see those that are talented get it right away and are undefeated and are meant for it, right? Like it's really, I found that it's not a point to judge the person on why they continue or why they're doing it, but almost you know, encourage them to continue to do it, like for their own sake. If they feel like they need to stop, you know, help them stop, help them find a new way, you know. I think it also, another thing to keep in mind is that phrase of don't throw all your eggs in one basket. You can, I feel like, if you want to take that risk with martial arts, but understand that it comes with a high like risk reward ratio, right? Whereas like you might not be the top of the top that makes $1 million. I mean, most champions don't even make that much money. Like people, I think, have a convoluted idea that they think you become a champion, you're making multi-million-dollars, and it's like even then you're really not. I mean, yeah, take like Kamaru Usman. Finally, he's now making like decent 6 figures after defending it the 3rd or 4th time or some shit like that. You know, it's not good money even for MMA. It sounds good, but you know, it could be better, right? But you know, he's got other businesses on the side, you know, so it's like go through the ringer, but invest in yourself, you know, like don't also stop investing in yourself, because this isn't something that should be like your only, you know, source of income, your only means to success. You should find other avenues within it, you know? There's plenty of connections in the martial arts community. Like, I found that out easily. People that like random niche jobs, or that can help you eventually own your own gym, you know, if you want to go down that route. But you gotta invest in yourself, you know? I wouldn't say, you know, you're gonna start training and 5 years from now you're gonna be a $5 million purse world champion. It's like not really the case. A lot of us, one, do it because it's fun. We don't do it because we think there's gonna be a big paycheck at the end of the day. And I feel like if you do, you know, you're in it for the wrong reasons, and karma is gonna show you. Like, I just feel like that's just natural, you know. If you're in the fight sports for money, it's just not it.
Damn, that was a really good response. All right, final question. What kind of impact would you like to have on the world?
To continue to show people Muay Thai and how great, like how beneficial it's been for my life. That's really all I want to show people, is that it could benefit. You could find a way where it can change your life in a positive, you know, stance. It's to whatever that is for you. It could be anything, but like, you know, for me, it's done, you know, wonders. It's done wonders for my life. So, and that's excluding the jumping in the ring and competing and being good at Muay Thai. It's like just stepping into the gym and doing the class and training with other individuals. That itself has done more for me than, you know, competing or doing any sport, you know? So I feel like that's something that you should be focused on the most, is like do the martial, like discover yourself in the martial art. You know, it can make you find your career, essentially.
Man, this man's trying to bring a tear to my eye. All right, man, if people want to find out more about you, where can they find you at?
My Instagram is JoeyDD19, and that's pretty much it. I don't use other social media that much.
Man, that was dope, man.
Hey, thank you, man.
No, that was really cool.
We share our spray, bro. Help your brothers out. Help your brothers out.
There you go.
We're all poor.
Life of a fighter.
Really, these are free? These are free? These are free? I didn't pay for these. I didn't pay for this. Fuck, what else? There's a few other things that I didn't pay for. Like, shout out Jill, shout out Data, shout out to Jim. I paid for these.